Welcome back to my YouTube channel, guys. This is episode 2 of my series, The College Predictor. We'll be going over week 2 predictions and a couple shout-outs. And first of all, let's go over how I did last week. Obviously, we had a big upset in one of my picks. No one expected Duke to do what they did against Clemson. And I think it was all Cade Klubnik's fault. He played horrible, and Duke enjoyed that win. But that loss brought my record down to 9 successful picks and 11 unsuccessful picks. So, not how I wanted it to go, but we're going to bounce back this week, and we're going to get a better record. Let's start off with some shout-outs. Colorado's Travis Hunter, who plays, out of probably every position, he probably doesn't play 3 of them, which is quarterback, punter, and kicker. And he played 144 snaps, had a pick, a touchdown, and tons of big plays. And he is probably, in my opinion, number 1 the Heisman candidate right now, if he could continue this dominance of a player for the rest of the year. Also for Colorado is Shedeur Sanders, 510 yards in his first game in Colorado. I think Coach Prime is very proud of him. He led them to a win on offense, and they scored a lot of points, so that could have been it. And their big upset win against the formerly 17th ranked TCU. Let's go to Coastal Carolina, where we have Clayton Isbell gained 3 interceptions in one game, which I haven't seen being done in forever, and I didn't even know if that was possible. But it is, so congrats to him. And we have Nevada, 2 players, in my opinion, top 10 players, but you're going to think that they don't even deserve to be on any type of show, even Nevada shows. And their names are Drew Watts and Isaiah Esisima. And the reason why I have them on this list is because if you checked out my first-person POV of the USC-Nevada game, there's some parts you could tell I'm rooting for Nevada. And after the game, Isaiah Esisima, the corner, he called Drew Watts because he promised me a glove or an arm sleeve. He called him, Drew Watts came out, and he gave me this thing. It's a Nevada arm sleeve. Very cool, and I've been wearing it every day since. So now that we got the shout-outs done, let's get to our first game. Our first game is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the North Carolina State Wolfpack. North Carolina State isn't the dominance that they were originally, and Notre Dame has a transfer quarterback high on the Heisman, Sam Hartman, and they also have a bunch of other talent, including number 1 offensive tackle in next year's draft, Joe Alt. So I think North Carolina State will definitely come in hot because they have the home field advantage, and when you're playing Notre Dame, that's a big deal. And Notre Dame's 7.5-point favorites. And although they're going to fight North Carolina State at home, they're just not talented enough to compete with Notre Dame and everyone they have. So Notre Dame, they're going to win this game by 10 points. Let's go to our next game, which is the Baylor Bears at home against the Utah Utes. Utah still has a bunch of talent, and though they lost my favorite player on that team, Dalton Kincaid, they still have Cam Rising, who should be back this week, but if he isn't, their backup quarterback balled out in their first game against Florida. So either way, Utah's the more talented team, and Baylor just came off a huge upset loss at home against Texas State. Half of you guys probably don't even know who they are, and they'll be in this video later. So Baylor, they're gonna come in with low expectations because Utah, they just dismantled a Florida team, and therefore they're 8-point favorites, and they're gonna win this game by 20 points. It's not gonna be close. Let's go to our next game, which is Tulane at home against Ole Miss. Now, me personally, I like Ole Miss. I like their team. I like their talent. And Tulane, again, they lost all their key pieces. So they're not the most talented. Even at home, they're 7.5-point underdogs. And Ole Miss still has Jackson Dart, top 10 quarterback in college football. And their defense, they're going to show up. So Tulane, they're not going to have the same chances that people expect them to, because they need to realize it's not the same Tulane team that beat USC last year. Their two best players got drafted, and their entire team consisted of most likely 3 players. So therefore, Ole Miss 7.5-point favorites. I do actually think this game will be closer, but Ole Miss is only going to win by 1 touchdown and 7 points. Let's go to our next game, which were the 2 most disappointing teams last year in Texas A&M and Miami. Both these teams are always expected to be powerhouses, and they always end up sucking. So they both started off their season strong, though, and they still have talent. Miami has a good quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke, and A&M has a good wide receiver in Moose Mohammed. So overall, they're still talented and all, but I think at home Miami will have an advantage. Though they're still 4.5-point underdogs, I think Miami will come with a minor upset, and they're going to win this game by a field goal. Let's go to our next game, which is actually a rivalry game, which is Iowa State at home against Iowa. So Iowa State. I mean, they're both average teams, I guess we could say. Iowa State's always disappointing. Like last year, they didn't live up to any expectations. And Iowa always seems to be a 7, 8, or 6 win team. They can never get up to that next level. And this game is at Iowa State. They have a good atmosphere, and Iowa's still a 4-point favorite. Now Iowa, they still have talent. I'm not saying that they don't, but I think Iowa State at home, there's no really talent advantages in this game, so I think Iowa State is going to do a minor upset and win this game by 4 points. Our next game, which I told you they'd make an appearance in this video, the Texas State Bobcats against the UTSA Roadrunners. Now, they're at home, they're in the Alamo Dome, and Texas State's coming off a huge win in their program against Baylor. And they're going to come in hot. They're going to want to win a game against a arguably lower power team. So I think they're going to come in firing. But UTSA, they're just always seem to be too good. And I think that they're as 13-point favorites. UTSA is going to win this game by 10. Let's go to our next game, which is, well, I was going to say quarterback, like going back to his old school, but Tanner Mordecai is now at Wisconsin. But these two teams seem to have something in common. Like, they seem very similar teams. Just one's obviously way more talented than the other, and one is in a Power 5 conference. But SMU is going to be in a Power 5 conference soon. They're going to join the ACC. So they're going to need to take this game seriously, because they're going to have to play teams like Clemson, Florida State, Pitt, North Carolina, Wake Forest. So they're going to have to get used to playing hard teams like this. And at home, again, Oklahoma, if they're getting sellout crowds playing Arkansas State, they're going to be overfilling the crowds against SMU. So they're going to be loud. It's going to be hard for SMU. Oklahoma, as 15.5-point favorites, win this game by 17 points. Dillon Gabriel pops off. Our next game will be the Cincinnati Bearcats against Pitt. Now, I think Pitt, they're always a solid team. Like, I feel like every year they come close to ACC championship. They come close to making one of the bigger bowl games, but they're always an 8-win team, 7-win team. So they're a very consistent team, and I think that they're going to come into this game as heavy favorites, although apparently they're only 7-point favorites. And I think Cincinnati's not as talented as they used to be. Remember how talented their team was in 2021, where they had Desmond Ridder, Sauce Gardner. Those two players alone are already starters in the NFL and potential Pro Bowlers next year. And they lost 2 of their wide receivers in Trey Tucker, and I don't know who the other one is, I forgot. But they're more talented, this team. And as 7-point favorites, they're going to win this game by 13. Our next game is the headline game. Everyone is going to be watching this one. A rematch of potentially the game of the year last year, Texas and Bama. Last year was 2019, 22-19, Bama on the road. And this time they're at home, but if we go back and look at all the players from that game last year and where they are now, we look at all the talent they lost. We look at Tyler Steen, who's on the Eagles, Will Anderson, the Texans, Brian Branch, the Lions, and their quarterback, Bryce Young, the Panthers. And you cannot forget about Jahmyr Gibbs on the Lions. They still have talent. They still have Ja'Cory Brooks. They still have Dallas Turner. But Texas is still a really talented team, and they have a better quarterback in Quinn Ewers. But again, they lost both the running backs, so they're low on depth in that position because no more Roscoe Johnson, no more Bijan Robinson. But they still have Xavier Worthy, who's a top 5 receiver, and their defense is always solid. But then Alabama's Jalen Milroe, after what he did to Middle Tennessee State last week, it gets me thinking, is this just going to be another, oh wow, it's going to be a great game, Bama versus so-and-so, and then Bama demolishes them? I don't think so, because they're playing Middle Tennessee State, and Texas is a whole different level. So I still think Bama, as 7-point favorites, they are going to win this game by a field goal. They're only going to win by 3. Let's go to our next game, which included a team that won 81-0 and a team that lost to a team that plays in Wyoming, Potato Land. So Oregon, they're far more talented. They have a way better quarterback in Bo Nix, way better defense, way better talent overall. And Texas Tech lost their only superstar player last year in the NFL to Tyree Wilson. And after they lose to Wyoming, they're going to come home as their first home game. I think the fans are definitely going to show up because they're playing Oregon. But 81-0, I don't care if it was Portland State or not. They're just overly talented, Oregon. So I think as 6.5-point favorites, Oregon is going to win this game by 14. Let's go to our next game, which includes two of the most consistent, well-known, I can't say that anymore because UCF's in the Big 12 now, but before they joined, the two most non-Power 5 known teams. So UCF, we look back to the old days where they used to go 0-12, 2-10, and then after that undefeated season, they just sparked a consistency where they win, and they win, and they win, and they keep winning and having winning seasons. And then Boise State, they're known for being a Mountain West team that always seems to be competitive and dominating against teams that they should win. So this game should be close. I mean, it's at a blue field, and I think that's going to throw UCF off. So Boise State, as 3.5-point underdogs, they're going to win this game by 7 points. Our next game includes 2 W's, including Wisconsin and Washington State. Now, for me, this is actually a really good quarterback. I like Tanner Mordecai on Wisconsin, and then underrated quarterback Cameron Ward for Washington State. And this game's in Washington State, so they're going to have a better crowd, and they're not going to have to deal with jump around, which is huge for them, because jump around, that's just the best atmosphere in college football, besides Penn State and Florida State and South Carolina. But I think Wisconsin's still more talented in this case. And when you think about Washington State, if you look back and look at the roster, you don't see anyone that's oh, he could be good in the NFL. Oh, he's definitely a future superstar. You cannot do that with the Washington State Cougars. So therefore, Wisconsin's 6-point favorites. They are going to win this game. It's not going to be as close as they think. They're going to win this game by 13 points. Let's go to our next game, which includes Oklahoma State. I don't like them that much. And then Arizona State. And this game is in Arizona State. And I know Oklahoma gets hot, but I mean, Arizona is practically a desert, so if it bothers them any much, Oklahoma State, the Heat, they're gonna have problems because Arizona State practices there. They play there. They have their spring game there, so they're used to that heat, and therefore they're gonna have an advantage with their home crowd. And I think we can see a potential upset here because Oklahoma State's 3-point favorites, and I think Arizona State's honestly the better team in this game. As home, they have the weather advantage, so I think Arizona State's gonna actually win this game by 4 points. Let's go to our second to last game, which is very anticipated. Nebraska, even though they still found a way to lose, and Colorado. And like Colorado, everyone, one game, they win, and again, it's a big win against the runner-up last year. And they're like, oh, they're that team. They're that team. They're going to win the national championship. They have the best quarterback in the league. I mean, I don't think they're going to live up to that hype, but they're definitely going to live that hype up in this game because they're playing Nebraska. When has Nebraska been good at football since 2010 and farther back? So, Colorado's a 3-point favorite. I don't know how they're only a 3-point favorite. I think they should be way higher. And they're going to win this game by 17 points. Let's go to our last game, which is the Thursday game, Friday game. Illinois, and the team that surprised us in the first half of the year last year, Kansas. Now, everyone's making memes about Kansas football. They're a basketball school. Oh, they can't play anything but basketball. I mean, yeah, they have ultra success in that sport, but they were 5-0 at one point last year. And Illinois, like I said, they've lost their whole secondary. They lost Devin Witherspoon. They lost Jartavius Martin. They lost Sidney Brown. They lost their quarterback, Tony DeVito. They lost their running back, Chase Brown. Like, I don't know who they have left besides Jerzon Newton, the D tackle. But then again, you look at Kansas, who do they have? Do they have Caleb Williams talent? No. Do they have a Xavier Worthy talent? No. Do they have Brock Bowers talent? No. And they are at home, and they're actually 3-point favorites. But after, like, I don't know about Illinois. They only beat Toledo by 2 at home. And then Kansas, like, they're a hungry team now because they were so close to doing so much better last year. And they still end up with a losing record. So, Kansas as 3-point favorites. I do think they are still going to win this game by exactly 3 points. So, out of these teams, we already know the game is going to be Texas and Bama to watch. But what about some talent? So what are the players you want to watch? I'm going to put a few players on the screen, and these are the ones you want to watch. One, you definitely want to watch Travis Hunter. He's a must-watch. He's, like, all over ESPN. He's the new #1 corner, and he's ultra talented. Like I said, he could play every position, and he does it good. So, against Nebraska, he's going to be a player to watch. Another player to watch is 2 Bama players. Jalen Milroe, their quarterback, and Kool-Aid McKinstry, their #1 corner. And they're both going to have to pop off to beat Texas because they're really good. So I do think that Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to have a really tough matchup against Xavier Worthy all game long. But he's going to have to win those man-to-man battles when it comes down to the wire. Because one misstep, one wrong bad angle, and then Texas could win this game. So those are 2 players that you definitely want to watch. And then one more player that you guys want to keep an eye on is Bo Nix, the Oregon quarterback. People, after what he did to Portland State, he's obviously super talented. We've known that from last year. But can he do it on a hostile environment against Texas Tech? Like, I mean, I know I said that Texas Tech isn't going to play that good, but Bo Nix has to show off still because a bad quarterback can make or break a season. So you do want to watch Bo Nix and make sure to tune into that game late on because if it's a close game, Texas Tech might have the chance to win because normally on those close games, the road team have struggles. Alright, thank you guys for watching this new video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys stay tuned for week-to-week analysis game lines and predictions. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. It takes a millisecond. I mean, what's a millisecond going to do to your time? So I think I have valid reasoning to subscribe. I will not be doing NFL videos, and here's my reasoning. I'm too busy. Like, I play a lot of sports. I play school sports, out-of-school sports. I do after-school programs. I don't have time for the NFL, and in my opinion, college football is better. So if you're expecting NFL videos, I might bring them in the playoffs, but until the playoffs come, there's going to be no regular season NFL games. But we will be doing later on, we will be doing Omaha. We'll be going over Omaha. We'll be going over NCAA tournament. This is a college YouTube channel, so make sure to stay tuned, because every week you might see a better and better video until eventually you're hooked. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next week, and peace out.